Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Hockey Journey Podcast, episode number 21, the Peter Sibner Hockey Journey, presented to you by OnlineHockeyTraining.com. I'm your host, Coach Lance Pitlick. If you're new here, please make sure you subscribe so you won't miss out on any future episodes. Before we dig into the interview, if you want to learn more about me, my hockey experiences, what I know, and most importantly, how I've been helping hockey players get really good with a stick and puck, just head on over to OnlineHockeyTraining.com and gain instant access to my 10-part video series where I'll show you everything. Consider it my gift to you. My next guest, Peter Sibner, is the CEO of Everett Sport Media Group North America, Inc., and president of Elite Prospects. If you've never heard of Elite Prospects, well, they have a huge online presence, getting over 1 million unique users visiting their site per week. That's a lot of eyeballs. I have to be honest here, I don't know a lot about Elite Prospects, so I'm looking forward to speaking with their team captain so he can give us a peek under the hood so we all can better understand what it is they do and the benefits they provide. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming Peter Sibner to the show. Peter, welcome to the Hockey Journey Podcast.
Thank you very much, Lance. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. Like I said, I'm looking forward to this interview, and before we get going, I have to tell you that I will never forget you now. Because I think this is episode number 21 of the podcast, and you're the first European that I've had on the show. So you're number one, and I like to give out the awards before we start the show.
Well, it took about 80 years for Nick Lidstrom to be the first European captain to win a Stanley Cup, right?
Oh, that I didn't. You know what? I've heard that, but I didn't remember that. So good little nugget there, right, to start this thing off. So before we get going, Peter, into Elite Prospects, if you're in a hockey business and you're from Sweden, the odds are pretty good that you grew up playing the sport of hockey. So if you don't mind, let's take a few steps back in time and tell our listeners where you grew up and when did you get introduced to hockey and maybe other sports that you played. In the simplest terms, what was it like growing up Peter Sibner?
Well, there was a lot of hockey growing up. I grew up in a small town called Rydaholm in the south of Sweden, about 2 hours north of Malmö, Copenhagen. So obviously hockey was a big thing. My dad was actually president of the local hockey club at the time. They were building a new rink right when I was about 4 or 5 years. So I spent a lot of time around the rink, but not so much on the rink, actually. I was never much of a hockey player when I was a kid. I wanted to be a goalie. I was a really good goalie when I was like 8, 9, 10, but then I gave up a goal from center ice and I threw away my goalie gear, and I've never touched goalie gear since. I stopped playing for 4 years, came back to the game when I was 14. After having been out of the game entirely. And those are pretty formative years. So I never became much of a hockey player, but for me, it really started with the NHL video games when I was like 12, 13. That sort of reinvigorated my interest in the game. I started playing again. I played through my junior years. Played the 4th, 5th division in Sweden up till I was about 35, 36, and I still play beer league down here in Florida now. So except for those few lean years after the goalie incident, I've been a massive hockey fan for my entire life.
So you took that time off. What a traumatic experience that you can pinpoint it to that one goal and you just said, I'm done, and drop everything.
Yeah, it was tough. And my son plays hockey now. He wanted to be a goalie too when he was about 7, 8. He played as a goalie for a few years. He was really good. I was in my garage shooting slap shots at him as hard as I could to get him out of the whole goalie thing, but he stuck with it. He wanted to be a goalie, and he was a really good one too. So I bought him brand new equipment when he was about 10. And then he wanted to be a skater about 3 weeks after that. So now he's a skater, plays on our U14 Bantam team down here with the Gulf Coast Flames in Ellenton, Florida. And he's a far better hockey player than I ever was. So he might actually go places.
Well, that's good to hear and fun to hear. But
my father was also a really good hockey player. He played in the Swedish Second League. And so I guess it skips a generation.
So you talked about you had the 4-year hiatus, and then you got into it again. But did you say that you played, did you play pro hockey up until you were 35?
Well, I guess you would call it pro hockey, but we're not getting paid. So I played until I was about 21, 22, lower level in Sweden. Then I took another break where I didn't play for a number of years. And then I got back and started playing when I was like 33, 34. But, it's the 5th division of Sweden. So I guess it's comparable to A-League beer hockey in North America. So that's, I guess I'm a A-level beer league player these days. And so the 4th, 5th division in Sweden, they call it professional hockey, but no one is getting paid. So it's just a long list of expenses basically. So it's essentially a beer league, but I held my own. 1 goal, 1 assist in 3 seasons. Stay at home D-man. I'm really good at chipping the puck out along the boards and I can nail a guy in the crease too if I have to. So
brilliant.
And even my father told me when I was like 15, 16, because I've always been a pretty good writer. I've always been a pretty good, hockey analyst. And he said, "Well, my son, you're much better at writing about this game than you are playing it." So I should have followed his advice early on, I guess, but I couldn't stop playing. I love the game. It's a good workout and it's fun and I still get really excited whenever I get to go on the ice.
So you talk about your father kind of noticed something that was kind of uncommon in you, and that was your writing ability and to be able to see things from a different perspective. So did that set you on kind of your next path of what you wanted to accomplish, to spend a little more time massaging that passion?
Yeah, it certainly did. I was always a writer growing up, but I took a different route through college. I went into marketing and business, and I was in management consulting, recruitment, and staffing for a number of years before I finally, about 10 years ago, got picked up by Eversport Media Group. I was writing columns voluntarily for hockeysverige.se, which is kind of like the hockey news of Sweden. I was writing a weekly hockey column there, and their owner called me up, and he saw my resume on LinkedIn and said, "We need a new CEO for our publisher division, and you know your way around hockey. You seem to know your way around business. Would you want to come in here and take this portfolio over?" And so I did. That was about 10 years ago. So I started up building the hockey division of Eversport Media Group, basically with hockeysverige.se, and of course Elite Prospects was already in the portfolio by then. We had some probably 150, 200,000 visitors a week at that time, so it was a pretty big website back then. But it was great for me because I got to combine my passion for doing business, my passion for online media, while also covering a great deal of hockey. So I was out there in the field a lot, especially those first 4 or 5 years. I did a lot of TV in Sweden, expert commentary. I was writing a lot. And I also we had a print magazine for a few years, Pro Hockey Magazine of Sweden, that we put in our portfolio. So I was actually the editor-in-chief for Pro Hockey Magazine for a couple of years too. So I've been following the game while building Elite Prospects and some of our other hockey websites back in Sweden up to what they are today. I've been very involved with the game as well. I've been covering hockey. I've been going to world championships. I've covered several Stanley Cup finals and done some studio work for Swedish networks as well. I still do a podcast for Viaplay, the Swedish rights holder today. So I'm still very much involved with the game, although the last couple of years since I moved to the States, it's been mostly from a business perspective. And now I'm also coaching myself. So lots of hockey, but not so much writing anymore, unfortunately.
Does that bum you out, or were you kind of burnt out from it?
You know, when you covered the NHL for a lot of years, like I did, after a while, you've heard all the quotes. You've sort of. I'm not going to say you've done everything, but after a while, I get a little restless. I just want to move on to new opportunities. And with elite prospects, the last couple of years, the tremendous growth we've had, I've been very fortunate to work with really good writers, and I've now hired a staff of really talented writers, so I don't have to do any writing myself anymore. So as of right now, I'm pretty confident with where we are, and happy not to having to be out there on the front lines myself. English is also my third language, so I'm happy to leave that to the professionals.
So I told you I started this podcast, and I want to get to elite prospects here, but we have 20 some episodes, and I have a number one fan, and our number one fan is my mom. She's never listened to podcasts ever until she listened to mine, and now she'll send me texts saying, "Oh, I just love so and so's story. He almost made me cry," or whatever. So she's going to be listening to it, and there's one thing that I know is that she's never been to the Elite Prospects website. So let's pretend like you're talking to my mom who's never been there. What is Elite Prospects, and what do you offer people?
Well, generally, Elite Prospects is sort of like the IMDb or the Wikipedia of hockey. We are the largest online database for hockey information. We have some 930,000 players in our database, ranging from players born in the 1800s to current day 14U players. Wow. So if you have played the game at any level, chances are, if you have played competitive hockey, chances are you have a profile at Elite Prospects with much or most of your career being on there. There are, of course, information gaps, statistics that we don't have, especially if you go back to like the 70s or the 80s from the lower leagues. But if you played professional hockey, you will most likely have a profile at Elite Prospects. And so today we serve about 1.2 million unique visitors every week. They come to Elite Prospects for very different reasons. Some come to just look up, just Googling a player. Chances are they will end up at Elite Prospects. Some people use it for very extensive research. Hockey fans use it to track their favorite teams. Young people use it to track their own profiles. Obviously, starting at age 14, 15, you're probably going to have a profile on Elite Prospects if you play AA or AAA hockey. So it becomes, a very important resource also for young players, because at that age, it's important to look good, to have your profile picture looking nice, to have your stats in order, and your height and weight constantly updated as you progress through your growth spurts. So we serve hockey fans from ages 10 to 90, I would say.
So you're saying if a kid puts a profile on, so this website is built by others, like they can go on there, like I could go in there. I'm assuming I have a profile in there, but if I'm a young kid, I add my profile and create it, and I manage it. And can other people go in there and make changes?
No, that's not really how it works. Back in the day, we would mostly cover pro leagues and senior leagues and high-level junior leagues. But over the last 4 or 5 years, we've significantly expanded that. So now we cover single A, double A, triple A hockey in most of North America. We got high school hockey. We've got women's hockey. And so basically scraping every bit of information we can find on any hockey league we can find. Most of the players we are actually adding, but if you are a player that plays in a league that we cover, you will be able to request to have a profile set up if you have a premium account. So we're sort of catering also to youth players that might be in a league that we only update like once a year. They can still get a premium account, take control of their profile, and request updates throughout the year. So with 930,000 players, it's very hard to stay on top of all these updates. Of course, leagues like the NHL or the European Pro Leagues, those statistics are updated 5 minutes after every game. So they are updated on a constant basis, but lower levels are usually updated once or twice a year. But if you're a prominent young player and you want to update your profile more frequently, you can do that. And we also have hundreds, if not thousands, of teams actually getting direct access to our database and helping out by putting their own statistics in there.
So you mentioned something that you've added, I don't know how long ago, but the premium membership. So yep. What does that entail? What extras do you get by getting a premium package? Is it just for players? It would be for scouts, coaches. Is it for everyone?
It's for everyone. We have features in there that caters to every different subset of Elite Prospects users. Basically, if you are a player, you can update your profile at all times. You can add video clips. You can get your really cute highlight goal or your Michigan goals uploaded to the website. You can get numerous pictures up there. You can also upload stuff like fitness testing results. You can get endorsements from coaches or teammates to your skill qualities. So you can do a lot of stuff if you're a coach or if you're a player. So it's sort of a LinkedIn for hockey players a little bit because it's used to sort of further your career. Premium users can also communicate with each other. So if you have a coach looking for a player, he can send messages to players who have premium accounts, and vice versa. Players looking for opportunities can also send anonymous, well, not anonymous, but messages to coaches, provided that they are premium members. And if you're a hockey fan, there are tons of extras included in a premium membership, such as more advanced search features. You got different statistical features that are not available on the free version of the website. You can do a custom list of players. If you're a scout, you can build a short list of players you're covering and following. If you're a journalist, you have access to more data, more advanced features that are really good for researching hockey. And of course, if you're an agent, we also have our agent portal where you can control all your hockey players that you are representing. So there's really a lot of stuff in there. And of course, with a premium membership, you also get full access to all our articles at EP Rinkside, where we cover tomorrow's superstars. We cover junior hockey, college hockey. From an NHL development perspective.
That's wow. That's a lot of information. Like a lot of information. That's crazy that you can have all that access to one spot.
Yeah, it's a lot of information, and a lot of our users only use portions of it, of course, but we try to cater to a very wide audience here. We're also building some tools right now where hockey teams or hockey clubs will be able to actually get a team login, so they can manage their entire roster at Elite Prospects to make sure that everything looks correct. So we are expanding into the club and team world now, having in the past been very oriented on individual players.
Okay. whose brainchild was Elite Prospects? Like when was this officially launched, and who was the guy who started it?
So Elite Prospects was started back in 1999 by a guy named Johan Nilsson, a good friend and a colleague of mine. He started Elite Prospects in his dorm room when he was in high school. At the time, he was writing about Swedish junior prospects in English to sort of provide scouting reports to an international audience. And well, that was back in the day when you were still playing, Lance.
That was a lot of beers ago.
A lot of beers ago. And so he started covering Swedish prospects, and then the stats portion of this started taking off, and all of a sudden he got more and more statistics in. And I'd say about 4 or 5 years later, Elite Prospects pivoted from being an editorial website to being more of a stats database, because our main competitor back then was HockeyDB for statistics, and they would primarily cover pro hockey, so they didn't have any junior statistics, and that's where we sort of found our niche. So Johan kept building that up and got more and more volunteers from all over the world to help out, and that just snowballed into the vision of having a know-it-all database covering everything hockey, which we have today. Johan is still with the company. Every Sport Media Group bought the website from him about 14, 15 years ago. He was on as a consultant for a little while, but he's been permanent as our database administrator and site manager for the past 8 or 9 years. So Johan still works about 80 hours a day from his office in Växjö, Sweden, making sure that he is the heart and soul of Elite Prospects still to this day. Him and our network of about 150 volunteers across the world. In addition to that, we have a staff of about 15 to 18 employees, most of them now here in North America, but also a couple of guys in Sweden still. So Elite Prospects is still a very community-driven resource.
How many members do you have there, as far as like paid members?
We're inching closer to about 15,000 now. In addition to that, we have about 150,000 joining our mailing list, our free option, which comes with a few benefits. So yeah, it's been very good development, because every improvement to Elite Prospects is funded by our subscribers. So the more subscribers we get, the more great content we can produce, the more stats features we can develop, and even better features for players and coaches too. So it is a profitable business, but we're investing just about everything back into the platform. I sometimes wish we could develop things faster than we do, but it's very satisfying to have all these customers, all these happy customers reaching out, letting us know what a good job we do. So it's a blessing for sure to be running this website.
That's unreal. I mean, 15,000, you haven't even scratched the surface of the potential of that market. So awesome. Really happy that things are going well, and the proof is in the pudding. If you guys, you can get that first customer, but to get them to sign up for year 2, 3, 4, 5, now you got something. So one thing that you guys have
it's very good. It's been a continuous growth.
Yeah, and it's like a coffee. It's a slow drip. Nothing ever happens fast.
Exactly. We do have a lot of features planned for the next. We have an app coming out hopefully towards the end of this year, and we also have lots of features for players and coaches, and even for hockey teams now. So it's a B2C and a B2B setup, where we are hoping to significantly expand the number of subscribers over the next couple of years. So things are going really well.
Oh, it sounds like you're having a blast. See, one new thing that I noticed on the website is your ranking portal. Tell me a little bit about what that is.
The new feature, our ranking portal, is basically where anyone can go in and make a ranking from players on Elite Prospects. So, Lance, you played in the NHL yourself back in the 90s, so you can list the 20 worst goons you've ever played against. Or you can list the 20 players with the funniest names in the hockey world. Or you can put out a ranking of the top 10 Swedish defensemen in the NHL. Or the top 10 free agents not currently signed to an NHL contract. So it's basically a way for our users to go in and be involved with our content, putting together rankings and sharing them with friends and followers around social media. So just today we had a guy do the 2023-24 US NTDB candidates from Utah. So you can go down to a very niche level. You can do your own draft rankings. You can do all kinds of stuff and share it across the community.
Wow, that sounds cool. Really cool. How's the response been?
It's been good. Some of our features are hit and miss. It's usually the guys in the volunteer group and me and my staffers talking about things that would be cool to have. We're all hockey nerds, so we get down to a very granular level, and it's just a brainstorming discussion for the most part. Like, we've come up with this thing. Wouldn't that be really cool to have? And then we basically just vote on it, and we pass it along to our IT development team in Stockholm and have them create it for us. So it's a constant ongoing. There's constant improvement going on, which is great. It's a very fun and dynamic workplace.
Well, and with just the speed of change and improvement. In the online world, it's hard to keep up, but definitely there are no limits. It seems like, for what people can come up with.
Certainly so, and also we have a very active users. They with 1.2 million visitors per week, we get a fair share of emails every day with all kinds of requests for updates, but also suggestions for new features. And we have a great relationship with the online community through social media. So we do get a lot of feedback, and we do get a lot of good leads from our users out there as of stuff they want. There's a lot of things you can do with Elite Prospects. It's very anything from finding current cap hit for a player to figuring out all the coaches this player has ever played for, all the teammates he's ever had. There you can go very deep into things with Elite Prospects.
I think I'm going to have to get a membership, because I try to do my due diligence on researching the guest. You're kind of a ghost out there. I looked at your profile. It didn't give me much on, but that's because it's the free version. If I had the premium version, I'm sure it gave me the whole lot.
Well, you could check out my player profile on Elite Prospects. It certainly is not as impressive as yours, but I still do have a profile. So
yes, I did see that. And now a quick word from our sponsor, SnipersEdgeHockey.com.
Sniper's Edge Hockey is your one-stop shop for your at-home hockey training needs on and off the ice. Find the perfect start to your at-home training area with slick tiles, synthetic ice, or a rink liner. Or upgrade your home setup with one of our top-quality training tools to help you work on soft hands, all of your deeks and dangles, perfect your one-timer, and improve the power and accuracy of your shot. Find it all online and in stock for immediate shipping at SnipersEdgeHockey.com.
So here I'm curious, just because you had the experience growing up in Sweden and taking those early years, that developmental path, and your dad was, I think you said, the president of the local association, and now you live in the States and you have a son that plays. What are the differences in the two styles of development, U.S. versus Sweden or European countries that you can kind of touch on?
Yeah, some things are very similar, but a lot of things are very different. And having been around it now I'm coaching travel hockey myself here. First of all, I really got to say I'm very impressed with USA Hockey and everything they're doing from an educational standpoint. I think they are one of the global leaders in terms of developing the game towards, a skill and speed game. Whereas maybe 20, 30 years ago, I guess, the Swedish brand of hockey or the Russian brand of hockey would have been considered at the forefront there. So kudos to the USA Hockey with everything they're doing in educating coaches, referees, and players, and cleaning the game up from some of the shenanigans that went on in the past. So that I've been very impressed by. The main differences are really the way it's organized, because back in Sweden, you have your local hockey club. You start playing at your local hockey club when you're 6 or 7 years old, and then you can play for that hockey club for as long as you live, basically. In North America, especially here in the U.S., it's more so that every year you basically got to look for a new team. You got to try and make a new team. People are looking much more looking for the right fit, the right opportunity, whereas youth hockey in Sweden is more like, I live in this town, so I play for the hockey team in this town. Yeah. Culturally, very, very different. But I really got to say there are pros and cons. Of course, the game is much more expensive in North America, or definitely so here in U.S., and maybe particularly down here in Florida where I am, because we don't have a lot of rinks down here. So the game is definitely much more expensive. I mean, it's not... we probably spend, my kid plays, travel hockey at the A level as a first year Bantam, and we with the travels and the tournament and the fees and everything, we spend probably $8 or $9 grand a year doing that. Back home in Sweden, you would get by with a tenth of that probably. The annual fee for playing travel hockey when you're 14 in Sweden might be like $600-700. Down here, just a fee is about $3,000-4,000, and then you got jerseys on top of that. You got the tournaments, you got the hotel, the travel. So the cost of playing is much higher down here. That is a very, very big difference. Yeah,
I think for where I grew up, in my kids' experience, in my experience, it was community-based hockey during the winter, where you played with your buddies. And we did that all the way up to high school, 18 years old. But then in the spring, like for my kids, AAA hockey wasn't around when I was growing up. But for my kids, that's when we would get into the AAA teams, like the ones your son plays for, like the Chicago Mission, Little Caesars and all that. We would do a spring schedule. So I know exactly what you're saying. The winter season was really cheap because everything was local, but then you get on this AAA all-star teams. You travel all over the country playing different tournaments, and it gets expensive.
Yeah, and back home the clubs are community founded. The rinks are usually public rinks, so they're usually paid for by tax money, which is very rare. You don't down here in Florida. You have absolutely nothing like that. So that of course makes a bit of a difference, and you also have local teams competing with each other for players at a much higher level than you have back home in Sweden. I'd say the Swedish Federation has been much more restrictive with players switching teams within a season and stuff like that. So it is certainly a different culture. But I guess a lot of those differences are to be seen in society in general as well. If you look at, the US and Sweden, I wouldn't really say one is better than the other. To be honest, I'm having much more fun with hockey here than we ever had when my kid played back home in Sweden before we moved. I'm coaching here now, and I get so much appreciation. It's crazy. The way the parents treat you as a coach, it can be terrible at times if you make bad decisions, but the appreciation and respect you get as a youth level hockey coach down here is very impressive. There was none of that back home in Sweden, I would say. Parents here are much more likely to teach their kids to respect their coach. They always greet me, "Hey, coach." They always listen when I talk. Well, for the most part, at least, except for my own kid. But there are some cultural differences that are definitely to the advantage of U.S. hockey compared to Sweden, I would say.
So let me ask you this. What would be, just in your experiences and knowing a lot of these players, but for me, growing up, it was playing youth hockey, play high school hockey, play college hockey, and then if you're lucky enough to play pro, you play pro. What's the path of, a top Swedish player like a Nicholas Backstrom, you said Lindstrom, Erik Karlsson, or Victor Hedman? What was their... what's the ideal path for an elite Swedish hockey player to eventually get into the NHL?
Yeah, that has changed a lot over the last couple of years, which we've seen. The North American ecosystem is much more accessible to them today. Whereas probably 20, 25 years ago, you didn't have that. You had no Swedish kids coming to Canada to play junior. You had very few come to play college. They would all stay back home, go from junior to pro until eventually they might get an NHL offer. Whereas these days, the world is much smaller. It is a global game. I mean, if you look at the major junior Canadian leagues, you have tons of Swedish players in those leagues. You have lots of Swedish players going the college route in the U.S. So I would say that today the game is very global. But generally in Sweden, the path is you play for your club until you hit probably 14, 15, where we have something called the TV puck, which is a nationally broadcasted hockey tournament for the best 15-year-olds in Sweden. After that, you get accepted. Usually, if you play in the TV puck tournament for your region, you usually get accepted to a high school hockey program called Hockey Gymnasium. And those are usually run by the elite clubs of Sweden. So it is a level up for a lot of players with regards to off-ice training, on-ice training, frequency, time spent on ice. So if you're lucky to get into one of those programs, you have all the opportunity in the world to make it to the SHL or Swedish pro hockey, and from there to the NHL. Of course, the most elite players, back in the day, they would always stay at home. If you look at guys like Peter Forsberg or Daniel Alfredsson or Nicholas Lidström, they played at least like 3-4 pro seasons in Sweden before they went to North America. You don't see that today. I mean, Victor Hedman left when he was 18 years old. Lucas Raymond left when he was 18, 19 years old. So going to North America at a younger age is much more common these days.
You mentioned one player. The hardest hit that I've ever taken was we were playing Colorado. I think it was with Ottawa at the time, and Peter Forsberg was coming down on me on the right-hand side of the ice, and I would, what I thought, let players think that they had me beat, and then I'd close on them. And he got right into my wheelhouse. I opened up and went to attack him, and before I hit him, he hit me as hard as I've ever been hit in my life and knocked me flying. So I'll never forget that. Do you know Peter Forsberg?
Yeah, I've interviewed him on several occasions, and I've played a couple of charity tournaments with him. Actually, it's a very impressive. He was a very impressive player because, of course, he had. He was a very skilled player, and he saw the ice probably as well as any player in the history of the NHL ever had. I mean, he was just a fantastic playmaker, but you tend to forget how incredibly tough he was. He's a very, very stubborn human being, very, very strong, low center of gravity, like really, really strong legs and thighs. And he was just such a fierce competitor. I mean, he hates losing at anything. You could see when his ice went black, you probably wouldn't want to be on the ice, even if you were a 6'6" defenseman in the NHL. And what Peter Forsberg did, of course, he's one of the superstars coming out of Swedish hockey. But what he actually did was, I think, pave the way for Swedish players in terms of toughness, because he was not one of those guys that you could scare off.
No.
Which Börje Salming also did probably 20 years before he did, but he certainly set the standard for a playmaker didn't have to be a lanky guy hiding in a corner somewhere. He would get right into the mix, and he wouldn't hesitate to lay a guy out. So and that has, of course, inspired a generation of Swedish hockey players. We all grew up loving Peter Forsberg. I mean, I'm 6 years younger than him, so of course when I was following hockey very closely when he came onto the scene, and I mean, he has produced some of the most memorable moments in Swedish hockey, with Olympic gold medals, the penalty shot against Canada, 2006 in Turin, of course, the Stanley Cup he won, and all the individual awards he won. So he has certainly inspired a lot of the players you see coming into the NHL today.
Well, he inspired me too. Years after that hit, I ended up, my final year playing was, I signed with Colorado, but I didn't make it through training camp. But, he was one of the leaders there with Joe Sakic and Adam Foote, Rob Blake, Patrick Waugh. And that group of players, and Peter being just the quiet person he is, led by such example. I mean, they dictated the tempo of practice every single day. And you were just trying to keep up because they were all so focused, and it was crazy to see.
Well, another example is really interesting. You should bring him up because, of course, Peter Forsberg was always a superstar. We knew from age 15 that he was going to be something big, because he was definitely, it was him and Marcus Naslund, basically. They were just the superstars from 15, 16. They started out early. They played pro hockey at 16, 17, and were dominant players in the Swedish Elite League at 18. So we knew they were always going to be players. But another guy you have some experience playing with is, of course, Daniel Alfredsson, who is sort of the opposite, really.
I was going to bring him up to you next, because he was another one that really influenced me on how to conduct myself. I mean, he had a refined process, and it was just magic watching him come over here and become one of the best NHL players that we've ever seen.
Yeah, because he was a late bloomer. We were talking about how to go through the steps in the Swedish system and be a touted for NHL drafts and get picked and nurtured and then come to the NHL when you're ready. I mean, he didn't even emerge. I mean, he still played amateur hockey his last junior year. I think he played like one or two international, I think he played for the Swedish junior team like one or two games. And so he didn't come up as one of the superstars. He did not even play in that the World Junior tournaments or anything like that. So he was certainly considered a late bloomer. And I mean, he didn't play. He played pro hockey when he was like 21, 22, and he was still in Sweden when he was 23, 24. And then he had a breakout season, got selected for the World Championship. Ottawa at the time, 1995, needed skill, needed players. It wasn't as easy for a new franchise to get skilled players back then. So, and they pick him up. And of course, I don't know if you were there for his rookie season when he was rookie of the year in the NHL, but that is just amazing progress, and that progress mostly happened after he turned 20. So he's another example. I use him whenever I talk to young players today. You don't have to be a superstar when you're 16, 17. You can still go very far with good development from ages 20 to 22.
And, it's because I'm another prime example, and that's why, maybe Alfie and I connected, because I didn't play my first NHL game till I was 27, and I don't think I was ready until that time. And, he must had a real good idea of where he was as a hockey player and as a human being. And when the opportunity came, his preparation really prepared him to do what he did, which was spectacular, like you said.
Yeah, and one thing, based off what you said, of course, you went through all 4 years at college, right?
Yep.
That is something I believe is desperately needed in Swedish hockey, because we have no good way today of combining a university level education with playing hockey. And I think that's a sad thing, because I do think the American college program is very, very good. Not only is it really fun, because the atmosphere around the games is just second to none. It is fantastic to watch college hockey on site. On TV is a very, very fast-paced, very high-skilled game. And, of course, now they are churning out more NHL players than they ever had. So they are doing a lot of things right in college hockey. And that is sort of something we don't have in Sweden. You go from junior hockey. If you don't have a spot on a pro-level team when you're 20, a lot of guys quit. I do think that something similar to the college route in Sweden would be a great way to keep a lot of like 19, 20-year-olds playing, still developing, still working on their careers, because we don't really have that avenue in Sweden as of today, and that is something I think is sorely missed.
Yeah, and I think there are limitations on, how many European players you can have on, different rosters throughout the different levels, like junior hockey, the USHL, and that. But, well, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Is there a ton of universities in Sweden?
There's a ton of universities, but none of them have a formal sports program. None of them have a formal program where you can play hockey for your school. I mean, you know, a lot of skilled 19-year-olds are probably, taking some courses or going to a university while still playing, their last year of junior hockey, or even a lot of them do it while they're playing pro. But there is no organized hockey based out of the school. And from a cultural standpoint and a talent development standpoint, I think that's a shame, really, because it would be so much fun. So there's no sports going on campus, really, at Swedish universities. They don't have like a hockey team where all the students go and drink beer on Friday nights to cheer for their team. And that culture is just so fascinating here in the U.S., and it produces a lot of great players and a lot of well-educated players as well. So,
no, that's great insight. I appreciate that. I've enjoyed that. So, to wrap this up, thank you for sharing your hockey journey and everything that you're doing with you and your staff over at Elite Prospects. I know you talked about the app coming out. Are there some major things that you're working on that you can give us a peek that might be a year or two down the road?
Yeah, well, not even a year or two down the road, to be honest. We are actively promoting. We're working right now to get our brand, sort of from online into actual rinks, because that's another part of our brand extension strategy. Elite Prospects it's a strong online brand. It's a very good online platform. We have tons of visitors, millions of visitors. but we are expanding into the actual hockey rinks, and especially here in North America. So over Easter, April 14th to 17th, we are throwing on the Elite Prospects Pre-Draft Invitational, which is going to be in Colorado Springs. So we are inviting some of the very best 2006 born players in America. So we're going to have our team, and our equipment partner Verbero is going to have their team. So we're going to pit 20 kids on Elite Prospects, Team Elite Prospects, 20 kids on Team Verbero, and we're going to play a series of 3 games there over Easter. And this is just before the USHL draft, so there's probably going to be a lot of scouts there. And this is a big event for us because we definitely like the idea of getting 40 of the top 2006s in America together on one ice for a weekend. We're going to be providing off-ice testing for these kids. We're going to live stream the games. They're going to be on Hockey TV. And we're going to do some seminars and stuff. So this is going to be a really, really fun showcase. In addition to that, we are also starting up this fall the Elite Prospects Cup Series, which is a series of 4 tournament weekends for AAA teams on the East Coast. So we're going to do 3 regular season round-robin tournaments, if you will. It's going to be Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Boston, and then we're going to play a playoff weekend down here in Tampa in January. So we are taking the Elite Prospects brand into actual rinks this fall, and that is something I'm very, very excited about.
Oh, that sounds like a couple fun projects on the horizon that are going to benefit a lot of players, and it's nice when you can, like you say, you can get just scrape off the best of the best off the top, put them in one place, and let the scouts come and do what they got to do. So I want to thank you for taking the time to come on, Peter. Like I said, I really enjoyed the conversation and to better understand what you guys have going on over at Elite Prospects. I think my mom, it'll still be over her head, but I think you did a good job in explaining it to her.
You're going to have to tell her that she can go and look up the profile of her son and grandsons and everything.
Yeah, she might have to do that. But just continued success. I just look forward to the new innovations and ads that you and your team are putting on the site. I know your son is 14, I think you said. If he needs any help working on the hands, the shot, the passing, have him go over to online hockey training. Maybe I can help him out a little bit.
How about I send him off to your neck of the woods for 6 weeks this summer?
Well, I can't do that, but if he is in town, love to get together with him and show him my world.
Certainly appreciate that, Lance. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Perfect. And if there's anything that we can do to help you achieve your goals in a small way, we're just a little company, but always here to help you. Always here to help you, Peter. Thanks again.
Thank you, Lance.
Well, that concludes another episode of the Hockey Journey podcast. I hope you enjoyed Peter Sibner's hockey journey. Though we may not all be able to reach the top of the hockey food chain as a player, we definitely can do so in other sectors that are connected to hockey, and that's what Everett Sport Media Group, Elite Prospects, and Peter Sibner have done. I can't thank you enough for stopping by and listening. I hope you enjoyed the interview, and if you think there's someone in your circle of family and friends that might like this episode as well, please share it with just one person. It will really help me in growing this hockey community. Again, I appreciate you being here. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, or submit a review. I hope to see you back here soon, and do me a favor, make someone close to you smile today. All the best, my friends.